how determined you are as a businesswoman and those KPIs and those goals, if you put that same level of dedication into yourself, first of all, it's so fun. And then putting it into your relationships, that's how it is for me.
That's what I need the people to hear.
People want to follow people that they like.
That's so good.
They want to follow people that they like.
Yes.
And if they feel like you're never trying to be, a part of community, they're not going to follow you. And so those little things, it changed my life.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Your Hero's Journey, a holistic business podcast where we focus on not only the tactical and strategic, but the mental and spiritual aspects of what it takes to become a successful entrepreneur. Now, we have focused so much on building this season. Building careers, building businesses, building your dream. And today I wanted to bring a guest who is not only really intentional on building, but also intentional on rest and obedience. So today we are going to talk with none other than Imani Ellis and what her hero's journey has been and the role that faith plays in sharing successes and the lessons that she's taking into the new year. Imani, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. That introduction, I'm so ready, excited for this conversation.
It's going to be so good. So let's start off with just some quick rapid fire questions just to get the audience acquainted with who you are. Where were you born and where did you grow up?
So I was born in Chicago, Illinois, and the question about where I grew up is a little tricky because my parents were missionaries, so we moved around. So we lived in Montgomery, Alabama, in Pleasant Grove, Alabama, Ocala, Florida, but we landed in Atlanta when I was in 6th grade. So I like to say that I grew up.
Okay. I think that's the formative middle years, so
Right.
that makes sense. Okay, now on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being just starting out, 10 being Mark Cuban, Kim Kardashian level, where are you in your entrepreneurial journey?
Ooh, I love that scale. I would say I'm at a 6.
Okay.
At a 6. I think so much of being an entrepreneur is realizing you're always a student. And when you get to the top of one hill, you're at the bottom of another hill.
So true.
And so instead of kind of seeing that as like defeatist, I'm like, oh, we're unlocking a new chapter. I feel like this year was such a new chapter in terms of learning to trust myself as an entrepreneur. And I think that's such an important thing, is like trusting your instincts. So
Yes.
a solid level 6.
Okay, absolutely. That's fair. And in terms of spirituality and religion, how do you identify?
It's interesting because I feel like religion has got this like layer on it. But I am a Christian. I believe in Jesus. I also think that's a spiritual practice. And so sometimes I'm not really sure which one I gravitate towards. So I just say like, I'm a Christian because I feel like, I don't know, there's so much layer, I think, when you say certain words. And so I always want to make sure that like my intention kind of matches like the impact.
That's so true. I heavily relate to that because I do like to study other religions as well. Like, I love the practice of meditation from Buddhism. I love the practice of, although fasting is Christian, we don't necessarily practice it so much, but from my Muslim friends, like with Ramadan, like I found that to be so helpful and fruitful, just getting closer to myself and Christianity. So I highly identify with that. Okay, and what type of leader or entrepreneur would you say you are?
Ooh. I was just thinking about this the other day, and I think that I'm like a student leader or a servant leader. And what I mean by that is I really like to lead from the back. I like to observe. I like to understand like what motivates different people. I think as a former athlete, there were certain athletes that like my coach, he could yell at them and then they would perform. There were other athletes, he would yell at them and they would crumble. And so I think you really have to kind of approach people where they are. So I would say, I'm someone who likes to lead from a place of like serving, because you just don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, I agree. And I would say from a managerial standpoint, like that is the most effective way in just meeting people where they are, but also like everyone is motivated differently, whether intrinsically or extrinsically. So you get the most out of them when you meet them as a person versus like, okay, this is my leadership style and this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah, it's not sustainable to lead with fear. It's not sustainable to lead with like guilt. Like people need seasonality. And I find that, like, to your point, the humanity aspect of like I'm human. I make mistakes. Where are you today? I think that's going to be what sustains you.
Absolutely. Okay, great. So I want to talk about, because we are going to get into 2026, into the new year, and I just feel like you have your life on lock.
What?
So 100%. So I want to get into a little bit of how you're planning for the new year. And I've come up with this little framework of mine personally that I want to kind of impart on you and just get some of your thoughts on. So I'm calling it a spirit new year planning. S is for stillness. P is for identifying your priorities. I is for infrastructure. R is for relationships. The other I is for integration, and the T is for timing.
Okay, you ate with that one.
Thank you.
That's very cute.
Thank you. We're going to roll it out on the socials too. So before we get into that, I want to do a little whisper check-in. And you talk about the whisper a lot. I've talked about the whisper a lot on my podcast. But for those who aren't familiar with it, the quote that I always like to relate it to is from Oprah. She says, "The universe will whisper. If you don't listen, it'll slap you in the face. If you don't listen, it'll knock you down."
Yeah.
So reflecting on this year, is there a whisper that you heard that you were hesitant to hop into?
Oh, absolutely. My word this year that was soft and loud was surrender. And as I got deeper and deeper in the year, it was so revealed to me, like even what I thought it meant at the beginning of the year isn't even what it meant at the end of the year. I think as someone, I'm the eldest, I'm a former athlete, I did ballet. I very much have a rhythm in my head that is you work very, very hard, almost to the point of exhaustion, and then you rest. And that had been working for me. I had been rewarded for that kind of infrastructure. And finally, which led to my creative residency and me just kind of taking a break, I just realized I can't sustain like this. And so what the word I heard this year was surrender. And at first I thought that only meant let go of control. But I realized through kind of like prayer, I do fast. I think it's so important, for my spiritual practice. But it was not only let go of control, it was let go of kind of this fixation of what you think your life is supposed to look like.
So good.
Because in an effort to force it into this timetable, you're forcing things. And anything that's like forced, it's just not going to stay. And so I feel like I finally have settled into, if I'm obedient, if I'm walking in my purpose, my steps are ordered, and I really can surrender, and not in a like woo-woo way of like, I don't have to do anything, but in this way of I don't have to worry about the things that are outside of my control. And worry for me used to feel very active. It felt like work. It felt like, ooh, the more that I worry, the more that I can problem solve. And now I'm getting to a point where if my T's are checked, if my I's are dotted, if I've prayed about it, I fully can kind of just like surrender it.
Yes.
So yeah, that's new.
That's great. And it's so interesting because that has been the hottest topic between my friends and I as well.
Is surrender?
Yes, literally that word.
Oh, wow.
We talked about it. I did a holistic wellness retreat for my birthday in Tulum, like no drinking, intentional sunrise yoga. And that was also the theme that kept coming up for us because we are all just like really overly ambitious women and women of color, where to your point, like you are rewarded for overachieving, for overworking, and it's not going to happen unless you work for it. So this idea of surrender was just kind of a topic that maybe you've read about in the Bible, maybe you've heard about, but to actually do it in practice takes a different level of faith that I think we all realized that we weren't really operating within. Where does work ethic stop and surrender start for you?
I think for me, I actually was thinking about this the other day because I looked up to the sky and I just was like, wow, like all of the colors that we've created are replicates of the colors that God created. Like he truly is the ultimate creator. Like we have green because we see grass and we paint sky blue because we look up to the sky. And I mean, that's so like rudimentary, but I just was like, he has influenced kind of the worlds that we're creating here on earth. And so then it made me think about creation and how he created everything in 6 days. And then on the seventh day, he rested. And not because he was tired, but because he was finished. And so then it made me think about, when do I know, or how do I know when to stop? And again, I think a lot of it comes with alignment. And I don't always get it right. I think for me, there are seasons where I just know this is a season of strain. Like, I'm going to have to push through the tension. I'm going to have to build the muscle. But then there's also seasons of rest. And I think for me, knowing the difference has come with me not knowing the difference. Like, I know the difference now because I didn't know the difference in my 20s. And I'm realizing now that it is about working in a different kind of way, meaning that the old way of my thinking was, if I hustle, if I burn the midnight oil, if I work longer hours, I'll produce better work. The maturity in me now knows that, like, when I reach a certain threshold and it's not due the next day, I can trust my body enough, I can trust myself enough to say, I can come back to this tomorrow. And there's not this like inner bully that says, oh my God, you're so lazy. There used to be like that inner bully that's like,
absolutely.
What are you doing?
I'm still getting rid of her.
Oh yeah, I'm like, enough. But I think it comes, sometimes I feel like knowing what to do comes from like so many years of like not doing it that way.
Absolutely.
So that it's definitely a practice. But yeah, that's it's listening to my body and my spirit. And I think those two working together is when I'm in like the most alignment.
I love that. Okay, so looking into structuring your 2026, because now we have the maturity and the understanding of knowing and prioritizing stillness. That is our S in spirit. How are you prioritizing stillness, whether on a daily basis or on a monthly basis? We know you have your creative residency. Are you incorporating stillness in your everyday schedule?
So I've really been working on, I call it my quiet time in the morning. And I was so inspired by my mom. Ever since I was a little girl, we have a prayer room in our house. And my mom would wake up and she would go downstairs and she'd have her quiet time with her Bible. And as a kid, you know, you're waking up 5 minutes before the bus comes and you're on the bus.
Yes.
But now what I'm realizing is you have time for the things that you make time for. So there would have been a time where I was like, I'm running a company, I'm scaling a company, I have employees, I got to work. And now I have quiet time every morning, and it's not long, but it's time where I will literally just open up the Bible. I'll find verses, I'll read it, I'll pray on it. Today I was in Psalm and just loving on David, but it's just amazing how like you really can craft your day. I never would have thought I had time to do this, I think, in a certain season. And that stillness for me is like, before I open my laptop, before I'm getting on socials, like, let me just have a little bit of time to kind of like set my day and set my intentions.
And how long does that time last for you?
I would say, I mean, not long, maybe 20, 25 minutes.
Okay.
And so my routine is, you know, I'll wake up. Now my new thing is I say, it's so funny when you're a kid, you're like, I don't understand. Like, I didn't understand why people cried in church. I didn't understand why they'd say, thank you, God, that for another day. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And now I'm the girl who's like, thank you, God, that I can see.
Yes.
Thank you, God. That, I mean, it's just, and so I that is how I wake up. I get my coffee. I love an oat milk latte.
I'm the same.
Now, the secret is putting a little bit of peppermint
Ooh, yum.
during the holidays in your, and then with my coffee, I sit down and I have my quiet time. So because I like habit stack, my body knows like what comes next.
I love that. And have you had to wake up early in order to incorporate this quiet time before the craziness starts?
So I'm already I mean, what's early? What would you say?
Early for me is 6 a.m. Right now I'm like Right now I'm like around 8.
I'm a 6:30 a.m. girl, but can I tell you, it's a residue from CultureCon season.
Okay.
I get really anxious during event season, and my body just can't wait to get up and work. It's not great. But what ends up happening is, as CultureCon gets behind me, and I would tell my body, "You're safe. It's done." I can start to wake up closer to the 6:37s during CultureCon season, like clockwork. I wake up at like 5 a.m.
And what is driving that? Is it anxiety? Is
Yeah.
it excitement?
No, it's anxiety. But it's, I'd say, you know what? I don't even know if it's anxiety. It's like energy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even think it's excitement, because really the excitement for CultureCon is like the event.
Yes.
But the 10 months leading up to it is grueling. Like, you're looking at like TPAs, you're looking at tiny little like floor plans and just making sure people are safe. I don't know if that's exciting, but it's definitely like work in the right direction. And so it's like energy. It's like pure like energy. And I think my body is like, we have a lot to do and a little bit of time. Let's go. And so what I've been trying to do more, and I think this might have been the first year I ever did it, was I would take breaks throughout the spurts. So like even when we were in like the south of France, I never would have been doing that in former years. I would have thought, I have to be at my desk. I have to be working. And that just kind of goes back to like how I'm viewing like seasonality now, is like, I might have weeks where it's 5 a.m. mornings. And then if that work is done, I'm able to say, you know what? We had a really productive week. We're going to go on vacation.
Good for you.
Yeah.
South of France wasn't even a vacation.
I know.
Was
Like,
it? I'm
as
like,
I said that, I was like,
we
but
were
you
working.
were working.
Like, I remember like the first day you were like, yeah, I finally closed this deal with the CEO.
I really did. I know. Isn't that, oh my gosh, isn't that funny? But because we were in the south of France, I'm like, vacation?
I know, it did. It was like fun work.
It was fun work.
We're like, you're closing deals like with rosé on a beach. So
right? It wasn't the worst, but you're so right. I went there and I like had a huge pitch, and yeah, I was working. You're right.
Okay, so moving on to the P, priorities. So based off of what you've learned last year in terms of priorities for 2026, what is your main priority spirituality-wise?
Ooh, my main priority spirituality-wise is just, it's the discernment. Because what'll happen is I will feel something, I will know it to be true, and I will not listen to the discernment. I will override the discernment by like what I wish to be true. And it just breaks your heart every single time. And so I think for me, it's kind of finding the balance between like trusting God in all the areas of my life, not just the ones that I think he can handle. So it's not just like, please help me with my business, but it's also help me in my relationships, help me, you know, to, I think, walk every day in what I'm believing. Because I think sometimes, and I'm guilty of this, is like, it was a lot of like fear and scary things that first like would bring me to God. Like, I'm so scared, please help me. And I think what I'm moving towards is more of an evergreen relationship, like the peace when it's not raining and the peace when it is raining. Like, and so I really want to unlock, I think, all of the assets that this relationship brings. It's not just like relief when I'm stressed, but it's just like, I mean, the Bible has great business advice.
It's so good.
I mean, the Bible has great,
it's so good.
You know, there's just good stuff in there. And so I think I want to use it for everyday things.
Yes.
So that's what I'm walking in.
That's good.
Yeah.
And how about your priority for your business?
Ooh, I think my priority for my business is I want to go back to the beginning. What I mean by that is CultureCon was born in my living room. We just welcomed 12,000 people over 7 days in New York. And that scale is incredible. But I think I'm really interested in kind of like going back to the beginning. And what I mean by that is like this like living room atmosphere and making big things feel small again, and like bringing back the breakout groups and just bringing back, I think, the things that made us, you know, so different. And so that is kind of the business that I love, like the business of community and people, and like being the matchmaker of like the vibes. And so just finding ways, like CultureCon, she's not getting smaller. So how can I find ways to kind of make sure that like my first love of like these smaller rooms is still like a part of that business.
I love that. And I will say, I do think you did a good job of it at CultureCon this
Thank
past
you.
time. Like there were smaller rooms. Like I did JP's speech, and that was a nice intimate room where people were able to ask questions about how are you building an agency? Who are the first few people that you're hiring? So people were able to get that direct feedback, which I found to be super fruitful.
And I'm so glad you actually went to that session because those were our office hour series and they're kind of like a cornerstone of CultureCon because they're intimate. And so it was so great to partner with like Sensory and like what they're building and like just that space. And I think, I don't know, we're in a time where you need to kind of see like the whites of people's eyes. You kind of need people to say, you know, that I get anxious sometimes, even if I am building something big, even if I am believing in, you know, in God's protection over my life. I feel like that duality is, it's really kind of like the season that we're all in right now.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of duality, we'll move on to I integration. How are you looking to integrate some of, because you've mentioned this before, where like I take up space by being my full self, which means you can't put me in a box. But
Yeah.
that means all of those people have to coexist and integrate into each other. How are you integrating some of, and you kind of already touched on it with discernment, but spirituality or your faith with your business?
Ooh, that's a great question. I mean, I think the beautiful thing about true embodiment of faith is it's not separate. Like it kind of runs through you. So it's not being quick to judgment, right? It's giving the benefit of the doubt. You know, one of my favorite kind of passages in the Bible talks about like if you're on the way to the judge and you have a problem with someone, like settle it quickly. Like you don't need to be
Oh, that's good.
settle it quickly.
That's so good.
And so in business, if something's off, you don't need to go talk to every other employee about it. Get some time and just say, "Hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
What,
Yeah.
are we, you know?" And I think like that's what I mean in terms of like there's great business advice and life advice
There really is.
in the Bible. I think people are really surprised, but I think the other thing is also kind of again, it's the seasonality, and I think that starts from the top. And so I was just talking to another founder who was like, "Oh my gosh, we're already in 2026. Are you planted in?" I was like, "Well, we're laying the foundation. We're not sprinting right now." You know what I mean? Like there has to be a time where the team can rest. I've done it before where we've done 3 culture cons in a year. That's not a team that's resting. And it's not a team that's the most fruitful. Did it get done? Absolutely. I think there's a different, more sustainable way to do things. And I'm really going to be leaning into like creativity that's like sustainable. That is my word for next year.
Sustainability.
Absolutely.
I mean, girl, you got a long way to go. You're only at a 6 out of 10 in your entrepreneurial journey.
But I don't even know if I need to make it to a 10. I think I'd be okay with like an 8.3.
That's fair. That's fair.
And that's hard. I mean, that's a new version of Imani.
I mean, girl, again, you're already at 12,000 people. So,
You know?
yes. So, as you grow and as the business grows, I'm sure your schedule is filling up as well, which brings us to the next letter R, relationships. How are you prioritizing making space for your friendships, your families? And this is a personal question for me because I have gotten called out like twice in the past month by my friends of like, is everything okay? Do we have a problem?
Ooh,
I'm like, no, like I'm so like, I know I've been a bad friend. I'm so sorry. I just have not had time. How do you schedule? Like, do you schedule time for that? Do you have like check-ins or like, okay, on a monthly basis, like whatever the case is? How are you going to carve out some of that time in 2026?
I would say 2025 was such a big year for me with relationships and being more intentional probably than I've ever been because it's so easy to be so busy. I mean, I feel like it's never been easier to be busier. And so because of that, it's like, okay, what's getting my time? And also what's going to matter in the end? Like what's really going to matter is making sure that like I have a balanced life that's filled with love and not just work. Because we've seen how that story ends up when it's just work and you're kind of like, oh, there's no one here to celebrate it with. And not just romantically, I'm talking about your friendships and your family. And so I do 3 things. The first is that I do 2 social things a week.
A week?
A week. Now, that doesn't mean in-person social.
Okay.
It could, no, right? You got it? But when I think of a friend, I call them or I text them.
Okay.
I don't wait for like that moment to be perfect because it'll never be perfect. And then the other thing that I do is I try to get creative in terms of like bringing friends along like into my life. So like I love estate sales, and living down in Atlanta, there's amazing estate sales. Like you can go and find like a Time magazine, Martin Luther King, $2. It's insane.
Oh, wow. What?
Yeah. I mean, it's literally like shopping in a museum.
That's so cool.
And so what I'll do is I know I'm going to go to an estate sale on Saturday. I'll just invite a friend. It doesn't always have to be brunch. It doesn't always have to be drinks. Like sometimes it can just be like, I'm making these plans. Let me see if a friend is available to like be a part of my life. And I think it's given my friends permission to be more creative with like their invitations. Like I just had a friend that was like, I'm going to a farmer's market. You want to come? And so I think we're kind of realizing it doesn't always have to be this like templated way of hanging out.
Yeah.
And it's also the like when you think of someone, like just call them.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we're trying to schedule these calls and it's like, so in like 8 weeks past December, it's like, just, you can do it.
Yes.
And also it's kind of fun. I mean, I don't know if this is healthy, but if you really think about how determined you are as a businesswoman and those KPIs and those goals, if you put that same level of dedication into yourself, first of all, it's so fun. And then putting it into your relationships, that's how it is for me. And everyone's minds are different. Some people, it's so hard for them to focus on work. They only want to focus on relationship. For me, I can work. So it takes a different kind of discipline to put that level of kind of like intention into relationships. But once I decide something's important, then everything else.
You prioritize that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really great one because I've realized the friends that I have become not closest to, but I am in most contact with are the friends that I have included in some of like my weekly schedule things that I already do, whether that's a workout. I have like a little church group now with like a couple of my girls. Like, okay, we're like, okay, on Sunday we'll go to church. We'll do a little brunch after, and those are the relationships that have kind of just like naturally and authentically have grown. Although I have so much the same amount of love for my other friends, but like whether they just live a bit further, they're just not able to be included in some of those already orchestrated plans. So I like the idea of just like, okay, quick FaceTime, let's chat, let's catch up. That's great.
Because the church brunch combo is perfect.
It's so good. Because like I'm also really trying to ensure Sundays are a day of rest, and have the faith that, okay, if God designated this as a rest day, I will be okay if I don't do work today and if I honor that.
Can I tell you, this is the first year of my life that I practice the Sabbath.
Yeah, me too. And it hasn't even been like every day, but like I'm trying to get into it.
Yeah. No, on Sunday, I mean, I used to work on Sundays to schedule all my emails for Monday morning. And we go out at 8:07, like,
Yep. Oh my gosh, literally same.
Yeah, I'm like, look at me, so productive. And do you know how hard it is on Sunday? It's not hard anymore because it's a practice, but I just enjoy the day.
And has your work taken a toll because of it?
No, like
that's what I need the people to hear.
It is possible. And there is a theory, and I've got to figure out what, I forget the name, but it says that you will complete the work within the time frame that you're given to complete it.
Yes.
And it's escaping me, but it's like if you give yourself a week to write a paper, you'll write a paper in a week.
Yep.
If you give yourself 4 days to write a paper, you'll write it in 4 days.
Yep.
And so if you give yourself 6 days to work and you take off 1 day, it was our biggest CultureCon yet. I did not work on Sundays.
God, if she can have 12,000 people at a stadium and not work on that Sunday, we can all do it as well.
We can do it. And it makes life more enjoyable.
Yes.
We're not meant, I mean, again, it's like I'm telling myself this, but like we just aren't meant to only produce. like we just aren't. And that's why I think there's so much kind of misalignment, is because if your only like level of worth is what you can produce, then no wonder you don't feel like worthy when you're not producing. If that's how you're measuring it. And so if you change the scale and you say, I'm inherently worthy, whether I'm laying down, whether I'm researching, whether I'm producing, I don't know. I mean, I just saw Issa Rae, who was one of my heroes, and she did an interview talking about how when she's not producing or she doesn't have something on the air, she kind of just feels like she's not successful. And it just blew my mind because, one, she's my hero, but two, it just made me realize how so many creative people kind of feel like when there's not an output, they're not feeling successful. And so I think it is time to kind of just re-examine just like what that looks like.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you're right that we aren't meant to completely just produce 24/7. And for anyone who may not be like the most religious or spiritual person, it's also scientifically proven that your brain can only compute a certain amount of decisions in a day. Like you actually run out of decision-making power if you've made a certain amount of decisions in a day, whether you've made 100 decisions by 1 p.m. or 100 decisions by 10 p.m. You're still going to have that burnout and your brain is just going to be done after whatever that time frame is.
That is so good. I mean, it's diminishing returns, right?
It is.
Because you think about all the mistakes you're making because you're exhausted. And you're missing things and you're turning in budgets and it's not right. Or you could close the laptop and say, you know what, I'm going to wake up early tomorrow and attack it. And that's kind of how I see it. Like the work gets done. It's just like being able to give yourself some grace.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so moving on to the next I, infrastructure. How are you scheduling your time? Like, do you time block on a calendar? Are you, this is a new term for me, but are you like cycle syncing at all based off of the month? I think I want to try that moving into 2026. Have you heard of this?
I have, but you know what? Every month it hits me as a surprise. Every month I'm like, I'm crying.
Same. But okay, so, and also for me in particular, like I make myself feel so guilty for not, I'm like, why do I feel so tired? Like I didn't get up at 7 a.m. this morning. Like, and then it's like, and then it comes the next day and I'm like, oh, that's why. It's because like my body is naturally tired and you just have to sit down. So I'm like, okay, maybe in order to alleviate myself from some of that guilt, do the tracking. And there's like, you can find it on TikTok. It's like, okay, in your luteal phase is when you should be doing like sending out all of your communications because that's when you feel more communicative. Like when you're ovulating, like that's when like, you know, you do all of your photo shoots and your cameras because that's when we just feel pretty and like our skin is glowing and like it's just like aligning yourself with how we're authentically going to feel. So that's a new one that I might try for myself, but I'm curious what your infrastructure is going to look like in 2026.
So my weeks, basically, I do the hard things first. So
Smart.
I do the hard things first so that
in the day or in the week?
Both.
Okay.
Both. I want my week to literally be like going downhill. So Mondays are going to be all the meetings that like I have to not slow down my team. So all my direct reports, our big team meetings, anything that like we have to discuss, that's a Monday call. And then Tuesdays are going to be more of like the secondary meetings. So kind of like our marketing or creative meetings that come after strategy. Wednesdays are for things like informationals, client calls, things that are externally facing that like aren't a big priority. No, you know what? They're not urgent, but they're a priority.
Fair.
And Thursday is like my me day. So Thursday is when I'm the most like uninterrupted. I put a meeting on a Thursday, like if it has to be a Thursday.
Why Thursday?
Because Thursday for me, everyone has gotten their marching orders. Everyone has what they need from me. Everyone knows what they should be working on. Thursday, I can finally kind of like sit in my cave and just like plan for the future, work on personal projects, strategize. It's like that deep work.
Yes.
And then Friday, I reserve for urgent meetings and research. So I will be reading, I'll be coloring, I'll be like just thinking. I think sometimes we don't give ourselves enough time to just like think.
Literally.
Now, of course, this is all not CultureCon season. When it's CultureCon season, every day is like Monday.
Okay.
But when it's not CultureCon season, it becomes the hardest to the easiest.
And in CultureCon season, when are you taking those stillness breaks? Is it just in the mornings, as we mentioned?
You know what? It's honestly like when I can find them.
Okay.
So I've really learned to listen to my body in CultureCon season. I used to push through. So my body would say, I think we're done for the day. And I would say, no, we're not.
Yeah.
We have like 5 more hours.
stuff to do. Yeah.
We're ordering empanada mama and we're working through the night. And now I trust myself so much more that when my body says, I think we're done, I trust myself to say, Imani, you're a hard worker. So there's not a lazy agenda here. You're tired.
Yeah.
And so this CultureCon season, it was so like even talking about the south of France or, you know, I took my family to Puerto Rico together. And those were all things like my body was like, we can do this and still get our work done. It's just not as, the rhythm is not as kind of like predictable.
Fair. That's fair. Okay. Moving into timing, because we all know we're on God's time, not ours.
Facts.
Where do you feel like God is accelerating you right now that you're going to take into 2026?
My courage. My courage. I think my courage to confront things head on. I'm not conflict avoidant, but I'm not someone who rushes towards conflict. I'm not rushing towards it, but I will stand up. I will be brave. And I think, you know, in this season, it's really been listening to like the convictions in terms of like, I don't know. I think for me, I kind of saw the threshold of my life kind of being an executive at a corporation. And I was really satisfied with that. And so everything beyond being that executive has taken courage for me because I'm kind of like, no, like I'll just hang out back here. And not even in this like fake humble way, in this like, no, like please don't look at me way. And so I'm just leaning in because I think that God can use all of our stories, and the fact that I am not the loudest person in the room, like I think that, you know, that's usable. And so I actually just turned and it was like, you know, talking about letting your light shine before men so they'll see your works and know that it's God. And when I think of it like that, it becomes so less about me and more about like me as a vehicle. So that takes courage though. I mean,
It really does.
to be seen, to be, you know, perceived, it takes courage. But I think in this season, I'm kind of like, I mean, literally, you only live once. Like, do it boldly.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious how you feel like not being the loudest person in the room or the first to speak can benefit you. Because I do feel like there's a lot of people out there that may not be the most outspoken or the first to speak, but they still have a great idea, but maybe they just don't envision themselves as this executive leader that maybe you'll see as like, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio on Wolf of Wall Street. Like, how do you feel that actually serves you as an executive, as a CEO?
I think it's my superpower. I think it took me some time. I did try to morph into the, you know, Wolf of Wall Street, and it didn't last very long because it just wasn't aligned with who I am. I think there is power, and even the strongest leaders, they listen first.
Yeah.
They do not talk the most. They let everyone talk. They're trying to understand. They're pulling it out of the person. They know that quiet person in the corner has been listening. And so I watch people that I admire and I'm like, oh, you're leading. You're the president of this company and you're not the loudest person in the room. In a way, it gives you permission to kind of do that too. And I think being able to observe is just such it's such an underestimated gift.
I agree.
To be able to like read the room before you've announced, you know, what you're going to do. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us kind of feel like because we aren't loud, it's not worthy. Now here's the alternative to that is also sometimes you have to stretch yourself into executive presence. I'll never forget my boss one day, she goes, Imani, if you want to be a vice president at this company, you need more executive presence. And I'm like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
but she was right because people will listen to you if they believe you're worth listening to. And that might not be easy to hear, but it doesn't mean you have to be loud. It just means that you might have to stretch yourself. And so what I used to do is give myself little mini quests because I wasn't going to become an executive overnight. So the first quest would be, when you go into the boardroom, sit at the table. Don't sit at the couch. The second one was, even if you're on Zoom, have something to say. And so you can like massage yourself, I think, into this confidence without like betraying like who you are.
Are there any other tips that she gave you around executive presence that you still embody to this day?
You know, you've got to learn how to advocate for yourself. I think a lot of us are like, I'm doing the work. Don't you see that I'm doing the work? Promote me for doing the work. And it just does not work that way. The squeaky wheel is going to get the oil. And you have to be able to stand up for yourself in a way that doesn't make you feel bad. You're just telling the truth. And so what she would say is like, you've got to orchestrate visibility. So what that means is if you're in a situation where you don't have a one-on-one with your boss, your supervisor, you got to get it on the calendar. And even if it is just giving them a rundown of what you're working on, like that's how you build your case.
100%.
And so these were things I was not doing. I was just kind of like, hello, like I'm doing the work. And she was like, it's show and tell. You've got to do both. So I think that's one. And then the other is, I think you've got to remember that people are people. So I wasn't a big happy hour girl. Like I wanted to come to work. I wanted to go home. And she was like, for every, time that for every 2 times you say no, you need to say yes one time. You don't have to stay. You don't have to drink. But people want to follow people that they like.
That's so good.
They want to follow people that they like. And if they feel like you're never trying to be, a part of community, they're not going to follow you. And so those little things, I mean, it changed my life. And I went from an intern to vice president in 10 years. And at every level, I was realizing this is the business of people. Like this is going back to what motivates people and like, how can I meet people where they are? And yeah, it changed my life.
Now, in terms of timing, do you feel like there's anything that God has been delaying for you in 2025 that maybe you need some patience on bringing into 2026?
Ooh, not too much. You know what? I don't know if it's delayed because I don't think I was ready.
And that is a woman of faith, y'all.
I don't think, if I'm being honest, if I would have gotten the things that I asked for, I wasn't quite ready for them. And so I think that goes back into the forcing. You'll decide you're ready. And be like, why is this just not working? Like no matter what I do. And so for me, that goes back to the surrender. Like I trust that you know what's good for me. And I trust that if I had gotten it earlier, I might have fumbled it.
Oh, that's so good.
I've been practicing for certain things, and I know that when they come, I'm not going to get it 100% right, but I'm going to be more ready for it, than I was maybe in January.
That's so good. I saw a quote one day where it was like, I'm going to use like a random example that I'm making up off the top of my head. So if it's bad, please forgive me. But, if you want to be, let's say, like a great mediator, God isn't going to make you a great mediator. He's going to give you conflicts to give you opportunities in order to grow the skill.
Right. It's like it's like, how do you think you get courage? You get a Goliath.
Yes.
And oh my gosh, I was whining to my dad. I said, Dad, like, can't I just go around this? And he was like, you got to go through
it. You got to go through it.
You got to go through it.
So good. So now I want to get into a little bit of your hero's journey. And for anyone who isn't familiar, a hero's journey is something that is a tale as old as time. It is a format and a structure that all of our famous books, back to the Odyssey, back to the newest movies like Superman, have really just aligned itself to, and it's because it's every human's story. And just to kind of give a little quick overview of what the hero's journey is, there's multiple steps, but TLDR, everyone has a calling, everyone has a purpose. This is literally a part of the step where you have the refusal of the call.
No way.
Yes. Everyone has the refusal of the call. Whether you feel like oh, I'm not good enough, or this isn't for me, or whatever the case is. Everyone has their own story. And then after you eventually get to the call, whether you're pushed by, as we mentioned, like that whisper, slap, get down to the ground, or whether it's a mentor or someone in your life that's pushing you, and then eventually you go on the journey, you realize who your enemies are, your allies, and then, you succeed at the thing and you sustain. So you mentioned that you got the whisper about a year before you actually took this step into Creative Collective when you were at Bravo. Why do you feel like you refused the call at that time?
Oh, because it wasn't what I thought my life should look like. And I had prayed. I said, God, can I please be a vice president by the time I'm 30? I prayed that when I was 21 years old. And I was 30. And I was a vice president.
And you were vice president.
And I had a corner office, and I was making impact. And I'll never forget, all of our offices were glass. And so we had big conference rooms on the floor. So the elevators would open, and sometimes the interns would come into the conference rooms. And the black little girls would look over and be like, oh, they just weren't expecting to see me there. And I'd be like, oh, come in. I had candy. It was like a little living room. I mean, New York City. And it just felt like this was my purpose. To mentor these girls, to answer all their questions, to tell them it was possible. It just felt so aligned. And so a whisper to leave.
That didn't make sense.
Yeah, I was like, no, I don't want to. I mean, no, I literally was like, no. And, I love that we talk about the whisper, because I used to think God would be very loud and big and blunt. And it was just a steady whisper. And I would just hear, you're gonna need to do CultureCon full time. And I think it is that refusal, especially when, a lot of people's journey is they don't like their corporate job. So then they leave because they're ready for something new. But I loved mine. And I think that was also such a privilege, to love something so much that you don't want to leave it. But that's not how the story ends, right? It's like I end up leaving and growing CultureCon, and NBC comes back and they're a sponsor of CultureCon. So it's all a full circle moment. But in the moment, it's kind of like your friends are like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
You have the dream role that everyone talks about, on paper, you are the definition of success. And at an early age too.
Like, you have so much more time to be here and so many more things to do. And that could have been true, right? I think that definitely could have been true, but the whisper was louder. So yeah, I thought to myself, I talked to my mom, and she said, she kind of surprised me. She goes, what's the worst that can happen?
Wow.
I was like, Mom, are you okay? She goes, what's the worst that can happen?
You can always go back.
You can always go back.
That's so true.
You love it here, that you can always go back. And so, yeah, the rest was history.
And before you made that jump, you mentioned that you were working crazy hours. It was 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Bravo. And then you would take a power break, work on Creative Collective, take another power break, work on Creative Collective again, and then do it all over. And in a lot of my podcasts, it really is the same, where you kind of have this founder's obsession in the beginning, and then everyone finds that balance as they get into it. Do you feel like that founder's obsession is necessary in order to get it off of the ground in the beginning?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I think you need a little bit of obsession, because no one cares in the beginning.
That's so true.
No, literally no one cares, even if they care about you.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like there is this kind of uphill battle of, you're doing a what? Okay.
Cute.
That's so cute. That's so cute. And it's not because they don't think that it's important. I just think that a lot of ideas just stay ideas, because it sometimes feels like talking about the thing is doing the thing. And so until there's real traction, it's sometimes just a very lonely place. And so you have to be obsessed. I think what you have to be mindful of is making sure that obsession isn't spilling out and cannibalizing everything.
Yes.
But inside of you, you've got to have that tunnel vision that's kind of no, there is no plan B. I've always kind of been that way. I've never had a plan B. And I kind of think back and I'm like, I don't know if I suggest it.
No, I feel like all of the successful founders will say my plan B is making my plan A work.
Yeah.
And that's why they're successful.
But I'm pretty risk averse. I mean, I know my life doesn't show it, which is why I say I need courage.
Yes.
I'm pretty risk averse. I know when people say, like, I just left my job, I had been doing Creative Collective for, 5 years. So I didn't just like jump out of the window. Like I had been saving, I had been planning. But when I kind of think about leaving, when I left my corporate job, my mom did say you could always go back, but that wasn't a real plan. I was like, no, we got to make it work.
Yes.
So that's where that obsession comes in, is kind of like, you got to see it through, my boy.
Yeah. Absolutely. Got to see it through, my boy. And I love what you said in terms of like the fact that no one cares in the beginning. And that's exactly why I wanted to start this podcast and bring spirituality and faith into the conversation, because it is such a lonely place, and entrepreneurship is such a faith relationship because you're the only person that sees this vision that you've been ordained with and imparted on. And no one else sees it until you have made it. Yes, you can convince people and you can write all of the things, but it's really your vision that you are crafting, and you have to have that faith, because you're going to get a bunch of no's. You're going to get a bunch of, oh, that's cute. Okay, come back like when it's successful. So I just really appreciate you for saying that, because I feel like that's literally why we need to have these conversations.
I agree. And I think even if people don't care about, again, like the vision, or they can't see it, they still care about you. And so I think there is something about having people around you that can speak life into who you are, and saying, you know what? I don't really kind of see this. I'm not sure I understand it, but like, I believe in you. I had friends that were honest. They were like, okay, you're just going to quit your job.
Right.
Okay. They were like, but I believe in you. And sometimes that's the most honest thing you can say. And so I think in the lonely place, and that's why I really love David. I mean, in Psalms, it's just gut-wrenching honesty. It's just like, this is the worst. And when I don't know about you, but like when I'm going through it, I like to read about other people going through it.
Yeah.
Like some people, when they're going through it, they want only happiness. Oh no. Like I'll be watching a sitcom, and if it's too happy and I'm going through it, I can't, I'm like, I got to revisit this. This is too trivial for me.
Ooh. What are your go-to, like, okay, I'm going through it, I need to tap into this?
Ooh, my going through it. Well, most of it is like, it's reading Psalms, because David literally is going through it. Like,
I have to reread that book.
Oh my gosh, it is. Yeah, it is. You just open up any of the Psalms and he's just like, help me, help me. I mean, it is so great. But I would say, what are my, you know what? I really like things like Succession.
Ooh, I'm rewatching Succession right now.
Succession, Billions.
Yes.
Things where the stakes are high and they're stressed. I mean, I don't know if this is healthy again, but seeing other people overcome a lot of stress and high stakes positions, it encourages me in a way that kind of like watching maybe like more frivolous TV in another season, which I would love. I can't quite get behind it because I'm like, I'm going through it.
Yeah. I love that. I am because seriously, like, and it's not just seasonal, but it's kind of all the time for me, where I really only watch TV like Succession, Billions. I'll throw in a little Sex in the City in there, but it's all things that of like, whether it's like places I want to go or like people I want to embody. And I think it's because like, the human nature of us, like we mimic what we see. And so it's really helpful to just see it.
I don't think you got to run that back, because I think people grossly underestimate how influenced they are by media.
100%.
I think that if you think that you're just passively consuming anything, it's naive at best.
100%.
And so to that point, it doesn't mean that you can't watch frivolous things, but feeling like it's never going to impact you, I think is just such a kind of irresponsible way to consume media. And again, I love the Great American, the Great British Bake Off. Love it. And sometimes that's what I need. But I also love these shows that kind of make my brain like think differently. Before I was coming to New York, you know what movie I watched to get mentally ready?
What was it?
The Devil Wears Prada.
Oh, that's such a good one.
And it worked.
Oh, I believe it. I literally
worked.
believe it.
I watched The Devil Wears Prada. I'm not kidding. Gotta be like 6 times to mentally prepare myself to work with New Yorkers in New York City. And so when they would do what New Yorkers do, I'd be like, oh my gosh, you're just like the character.
Yeah. You're like, oh my God, is this Miranda Priestley?
I know, like mentally, I'm like, oh, I've seen this before. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it is an exercise in terms of kind of like
I completely agree.
thinking differently.
I completely agree. Now, getting into the tactical, you talk so much about the growth of CultureCon. Started with 10 people in your living room, went to 100 people, Spike Lee as the first keynote speaker, and now, of course, 12,000 people. In that kind of middle ground, 100 people with Spike Lee, were you still coming out of pocket, or did you have investors? Did you correlate, or not correlate, but, come up with some sort of structure where you didn't have to come out of pocket? How did that look like for you?
So for the first ever CultureCon, I still have a job as a publicist, and I had no money. And so the goal was, we're not going to make money. We're just not going to lose money. And so I created a budget, and basically next to every line item, I tried to figure out a way where I could get it pro bono. And so obviously the biggest expense, of course, is going to be the venue.
Yep.
And so I'm sitting with a friend, we're having coffee, and casually she mentions that she's the community manager at a Samsung space. And that if we wanted to ever do events there, just let her know. And I'm like, well, funny you should mention we want to do a conference.
Yeah.
And so already the venue covered. And so then thinking about, the budget, it was like, okay, we're going to need some budget for snacks. And so for all of that, I just came out of pocket. We sold tickets, I want to say, for like $25. So I was able to kind of like balance that out.
Yeah.
But everything else was my friends and I being very creative. And so we would do things like, instead of like going and having professional programs made, we'd have a friend who would like design the program for us and print it out, at like Office Depot.
Yes.
And so that was like their gift to us at CultureCon. And so it truly was built out of community. And then something really special happened at the first CultureCon. We had someone come up to me and say, can we present the next CultureCon?
Wow.
And I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah, right. I still don't know what it
I'm
means.
like, what does that mean? And so it's like they're underwriting the cost, the production cost to help you bring it to life.
Wow.
And so a lot of building a conference is learning on the go. And a lot of it is so risky because you are hoping that you sell enough tickets for the venue that you've already paid for the food that you've already bought. And for us, it's such a love letter to our community. It's, if you build it, they will come. If you pour love in it, they will feel it. And it's been such an act of faith. And so I love that you talk about entrepreneurship as like a spiritual journey, because I 100% feel like being an entrepreneur has been just a mirror back to me of my faith and like an embodiment of my name. The irony that Imani means faith is like not lost on me.
I never knew that.
I know. I'm like, girl, just embody your name. Just stand up.
And when people literally speak to you, they're saying faith to you. They're speaking it into you.
Oh my gosh, yes. Wow.
Was that just like a light bulb moment?
It was. They're speaking it into me.
That's beautiful. And are a lot of these brands coming to you, or do you have to pitch them?
I would say we're in a place now, luckily, where most of the brands are inbound.
That makes sense.
Which I'm so grateful for, because I think, coming from a place where, we were hearing in 2017, what is CultureCon? To being able to talk to some of the biggest brands in the world. Like, I will just never take that for granted. Especially, I think, because like, as we're continuing to scale, like, we want to make sure that like the brands are meeting our community where they are. Our community is so loyal. We are so influential. And I think that when we're able to see the brands showing up at CultureCon, it's kind of like the love is coming back to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you did have to pitch to these brands, what did that look like? Were you just cold calling? Were you utilizing relationships? How were you presenting CultureCon to make it attractive?
Oh my gosh. If I actually the other day went back and looked at our first deck, and I was like, bless her heart. I mean, it was just so, she was doing the best she could.
Yes.
But basically,
It worked though.
Actually in the beginning, most of it was but it was data. So I did ballet for 14 years. And so I love feedback. As a ballerina, you are trained that when you get feedback, it means that people think there's potential there. When you don't get feedback, they've given up on you. And so when I get so when I would get feedback and they'd be like, well, I actually don't think it's a fit this year. I'd say, oh, well, like, why not? And they would say, well, you don't have any data here on your audience. Like, who's your audience? I'd be like, oh. And I would go in the deck, and for the next pitch, I would add an audience slide.
That's so good.
And then in that pitch, they'd say, oh, I don't think it's a fit. I'd say, oh, well, why not? And they would say, oh, well, I mean, your social media, you have no following. And so all of this was like data. It got to the point I was so used to hearing no. I would be like, well, I'd be like, well, thank you for your time. And I remember one time I was ready for them to be like, no. And they're like, well, do it. I was like, well, thank you for, wait, what? Because you're so, and so in my mind, it was like, I just need one yes.
100%.
Every yes would give me the confidence for like 20 more no's. And now it's a place where the brands are reaching out to us. But goodness, how far we've come.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, I think we've all seen like the success of CultureCon, like Ciara, Jennifer Hudson, like just like the biggest names in entertainment that you can think of. Now, on the topic of feedback, this has been a weird year for Black events and feedback. From Essence Fest to Afrotech and recently CultureCon, where I think we've seen this weird negative critique on social media. What has that taught you as a leader that you're going to bring into it? Because I do feel like you've handled it with so much grace and so much poise. I was reading those and I was like, I mean, you saw my tweet, but I feel like if it was me and my baby, that like my anger would have been through the roof. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? We did this, we did that. But I feel like you really handled it. You and the team handled it so gracefully. What is your main takeaway coming out of that as a leader?
I think there's a lot happening this year, and what we're seeing is all of it's compounding, right? And so a lot of what people are hungry for are things that should be provided for by the administration, to be quite frank. And so I think that there is an appetite for relief. I think it's relief. And when you can't kind of direct that relief anywhere, it's the easiest to direct it to kind of what's in front of you. And so what the team and I did was we went back to the promise. Like, what did we promise we would offer? Did we deliver on the promise? We did. So there's integrity in terms of our event. Now, that doesn't mean there's not areas where we can grow. We're always growing. For sure. But I think for me, there was a level of disappointment. I think, we work so hard and there are humans behind CultureCon. And I think, like I just said, I love feedback. We have focus groups every month. Exactly. My email is in my bio if you really want to talk to me, and it's my real email. Yeah. And so sometimes I think there can be some heartbreak in terms of people who weren't there, critiquing things that didn't happen. I mean,
my blood is boiling right now.
I saw someone that said, "Why did 2 Chainz perform for 2 hours?" He didn't. Why wasn't there a job fair? There was. We don't care about what celebrities think. Someone does. Someone maybe needed to hear the story of Morris Chestnut before he was Morris Chestnut. And so with time, I think it went from kind of like heartbreak and surprise. We had never seen that kind of reaction. And it did feel like a little bit of kind of a like world shifting moment. But I sat with it and I think I realized, oh my gosh, 2 things have happened. One, CultureCon has made its way to mainstream.
And new levels, new devils.
And what I realized is, oh my goodness, there's a whole new group of people who don't understand how we were born. And so they're asking, where's the networking events? And
girl, there's a whole week of them.
Right, and not realizing that there's a whole week of it, that we did 25 events, that were smaller, that we do free events throughout the year. And so what that really told me is like, you know what? And the data showed it, 70% of the people who came to CultureCon had never come before. They weren't in the living room. They don't know about us growing, that way. Yes. And so I think we took it as an opportunity of like, wow, like we really have an opportunity here to kind of like rebuild this community and kind of show them that like we hear you. and that there is a way to have community care. And I think care is the key word.
Yes.
But yeah, girl, it was a moment, and I was like, oh my gosh, do I have to get off the internet forever? Like, this is crazy. But life moves on, and I think what we're seeing is every weekend now it's something new. And so because of that, I don't take it personally. I don't think CultureCon is my baby. I think because of that, I don't internalize it. There were even kind of comments that were like, not Imani, we love Imani, but this, and it just was like, wow. And you know what? I mean, as a person who was a publicist to celebrities for 10 years, for someone who had to tell dozens of celebrities, nope, nope, nope. What an out-of-body experience.
I can only imagine.
To be in that seat.
Yes.
I've never empathized more. And this was a very small scale. So
was it?
I mean, no, we were literally trending for 8 days.
No, yeah,
like,
girl,
the
it was
government
all
shutdown.
over my Threads feed.
I mean, it was, I don't know, but I think part of me understands that part of being a leader is making a million decisions that no one will ever see, and understanding that even if you try to explain a million different reasons, that you've got to have grace, and you've got to say, thank you for your feedback. And the parts that you can do, you do. And the rest you just have to like leave behind. And I think, again, it's kind of like, that's the cost.
Yeah.
That's the cost.
And again, it came with a blessing, right? Because you said, what, 12,000?
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
wait, how many new people?
Oh, so 70%.
Oh, 70%.
Of the people who came were new.
Were new.
And that's so exciting to me.
Exactly.
Because it makes it make sense that, I think, I saw someone that was like, oh my gosh, I was the most senior person in my breakout group. I didn't get anything from it. And from me, I'm like, we've got to bring back the idea that if you're the most senior person in a breakout group, it might mean that you should mentor the person next to you.
We need to start reaching back more.
It might mean that, like, okay, in this breakout group, it's time for me to, share education. And so I think for us, again, it's just kind of like I said, a return to the living room. That's 70% of the people that we're going to love on.
Reshare the narrative.
And reshare that narrative.
We all know what it is.
I thought that I was like, girl, if I say the living room one more time, but apparently
you got to keep
I got to run it back.
The audience is only going to grow,
Yeah.
so the living room will stay.
Yeah. And so I think it's just being kind to our leaders, to people who are trying, because the trying and being in the arena, it's not easy.
It's not. But you're David right now, so... Okay, so I always love to close out these conversations with the definition of purpose, which is the reason for which something is created. What is your purpose, and do you feel like you're currently living in it?
I think my purpose is definitely based in community, and definitely based on loving people and just showing people what's possible. And it's ever evolving, because I think right now it's being revealed to me. And that goes back to my surrender. If you would have asked me 2 years ago, I would have had such a neatly tied up answer for you, because I was still in control of my narrative. And I am having so much fun just letting it unfold and kind of realizing my steps are ordered. And so it's just a little bit more being obedient.
I love that.
I never had control. And so the illusion of it, it feels like safety. But kind of realizing, I saw it was the wisest people realize that they don't know a ton. I feel so satisfied in that.
Yeah. And if anything, I feel like the more you learn, the more you realize that you don't know much.
You don't know much. And it's how exciting that you can be a student and that you aren't expected to know everything.
Absolutely.
So I think that is, I am relinquishing all of these narratives. And I think it goes back to not being one thing. Who knows? I have 4 more lives inside of me.
Oh, absolutely. And I will just say, in terms of your purpose of just showing people that it can be done, You have literally been that for me.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
no, seriously. I think
Really?
just see, and also like just the power of someone as simple as like who kind of looks like you. And it's just like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it too. So thank you for showing up in the way that you do and with the boldness that you do, and even just like the eloquence and the vocabulary and the presence, and still being able to tap into the divine femininity, as I mentioned. Like, you show up with grace, you show up with poise, you show up with softness while still being an executive leader in charge of so many people. So you're doing the thing, girl.
Thank you, girl. And I'm reflecting that light right back to you. I feel the exact same way. And I
Thank
think
you.
being able to be the layered versions of ourselves, I love like the divine feminine. Like I just didn't used to think that I could be both. And so even you like boldly stepping out and kind of like just embodying business, spirituality, entrepreneurship, fear.
Yes.
I think that is what people are hungry for, is that you don't have to choose.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you so much for your time, your conversation, your candor. This has been such a fruitful conversation that I feel like has so many gems. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.